Well, that's a little bit of a change of scenery, isn't it? I can hear you saying that. Yes, a little bit of a different appearance today for a very good reason. Newcastle are playing Liverpool. There's a saying that you can take the Geordie out of Newcastle, but you'll never take Newcastle out of the Geordie. So how are the lads? Actually, this is not what I want to talk about on this video. This time, I recall an expression that has kind of stuck with me pretty much most of my life. Somebody once said when I was a young man that God created you, Chris, with 2 ears and 1 mouth, and therefore you should use them in that proportion. It's pretty wise advice, I would say. And I've tried to live by that, being a good listener. But that's quite difficult when you come here because everybody wants to hear this crazy white man's story about what on earth does he think he's playing at, walking right away across our country here, 1,100 kilometers. So I have to do probably more talking than I'm comfortable with. But that's just the way it is. And yet when I do take opportunity to listen to people, something quite often deep and profound can emerge in the conversation. They stop becoming a photographic opportunity or a statistic for that matter, and they become real people. However, of course, many conversations are very, very superficial and light-hearted, such as the time that I pulled up a chair and at lunchtime sat down with Lyson and John and played drafts with them just to kill a little bit of time, and we had such a laugh together. We didn't have to talk about poverty, the challenges of life here. We just enjoyed playing the game. An hour later, however, I had an encounter that was the most challenging so far to face, and I confessed to struggling to swallow the big lump it left in my throat. A coach of 70 passengers was parked by the side of the road. They were all out on the verge, including many children, babies being breastfed by their mothers. Of course, the nurse within me compelled me to check and see that everyone was okay. Thankfully, they were, but what I discovered was quite shocking. They'd been stranded there for 36 hours when the coach broke down on a long journey from South Africa to Malawi. I really felt helpless to assist. I asked them a very simple question. May I pray with you? I didn't know whether they would welcome it. I really didn't know what they believed. I just didn't know what would happen. I simply just felt prompted to ask. And then, somewhat embarrassingly, at the end, they all applauded. And yet, as I walked away from there with the applause ringing in my ear, I felt pretty wretched inside. The fact is that I walked away troubled by the question, did I do enough? I often feel discomfort when I hear the phrase, all you can do is pray. Sometimes actually, prayer isn't an alternative to action. Prayer is what sends us back into action. So let me cut a very long story short, since it unfolded over the next 2 days. I was shuttling backwards and forwards due to the absence of accommodation in the area, and found out that in the end they spent a total of 3 nights by the roadside. In that time, I tried to do the little I could. I bought drinks, fruit, snacks for them, and also reported the matter to the police. The latter, however, were completely disinterested. And you know what? This made my blood boil. And I actually flew off the handle with one officer. I just could not get his indifference. I know, I can't personally solve every desperate situation I encounter on this journey. I know I have to discern when compassion is calling me to act and when compassion is calling me to simply stand alongside people and trust them to God. The real story here is about the space between seeing a need and responding to it. Sometimes the answer isn't to solve the problem. I've come to realize that it's to make the next helpful thing happen. So sometimes I just need to give myself a little bit more time to think and reflect before I act. Yes, it is true, God created me with 2 ears and one mouth, and yes, let's strive to use them in that proportion. I don't think it quite captures the true essence of humanity, however, because He also created me to act with 2 hands and 2 feet. So I think what I've learned this time is that I need to listen, reflect, and then where I have the opportunity to respond, to act. That's it. I'm going to leave you with one thing. Yes, away the lads, let's take the game to Liverpool. The astute amongst you, the football astute, of course, will know that I'm not actually wearing a Newcastle shirt. I could not find one in the marketplace. It belongs to another team. Those of you who love a quiz, can you guess which one it is? Bye for now.